Hey everybody, Karen here. Welcome back to Unpinned Creative. Today we're going to be taking this page that I worked on during Dephemerember. It was day 6 and making it better. Finishing off the background and making it more of a complete page. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm not going to change this. I'm going to leave that as it is. It has journaling space on the back. So on the journaling spaces that I'm leaving on these pages, I'm actually writing down comments that I get on the videos, the original videos on this channel. So I borrowed that idea from Louisa at Louisa Heinzel Junk Journal Art. She did that in her journal and I love it. I think it's a great way to remember what people have to say about the video, so that's what I am doing as well. So let's get into it. I'm just going to take this feather off, which is a bit more like a leaf. We'll fix that up a bit later. Alright, the first thing I need to do is do something with this background. So all I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to take my orange Stampin' Up ink pad, and I'm just going to pop it down in a few places over this brown paper background, like so. And then I'm going to bring in my Spiced Marmalade Distress ink pad and just do the same thing, just go over it a wee bit. And then I am going to bring in my spray bottle of water. I don't know why I shook it, it's just water. It's just habit to shake things, and just give that a bit of a spritz. And then I'm going to dry that off with my heat gun. Okay, so that is nice and dry now. Now, I forgot that I had glued this down with glue stick, and so the water has lifted that off a bit, so I'm just going to stick that down again, not with glue stick, because there might be more water later on. Okay, so we have a bit more colour there now. Alrighty, the next thing I'm going to do is I have this stamp that I used on day 11 in the toucan page. That was a handmade stamp, and I'm going to use that to add leaves to the background. So I'm just going to take some blue and yellow paint and a scrap of paper. This is just really cheap, like school paints or kids paints, and I think I picked it up at the op shop, so I have no idea how old it is, but it will work to give me a green colour, and that's all I want. And I'm just going to start randomly popping that down all over the background of this page. I don't want all the leaves going in the same direction or anything like that, so I'm turning the stamp each time I put it down. Sorry, I went off screen a bit there, I think. But there it is. I think that's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. So I am going to dry that off as well, so I can carry on. Pop this out of the way somewhere where I won't get green paint on everything. Okay, I have dried that off now, and that is actually a really beautiful page, and I could leave it just like that. There's a spot here for journaling on, and I think it looks a million times better and more finished already just by adding those two things. But of course I'm going to take it to the next step. Okay, so I have created a stencil. I just made this using a scrap piece of paper, drew a design on it, covered the paper back and front with clear contact, leaving a good border around the edge, and then cut out the design with a very sharp craft knife. The trick is to use a very sharp craft knife. It'll make your job much easier. If you want to see me actually make a stencil, head on over to day 18 of the Dephemerember series. I'll put the link in the description. I show you how I hand make a stencil there on that page. And this is going to be the water droplets, some water droplets coming out of the elephant's trunk. So I have my texture paste, homemade texture paste, and a palette knife it's typically called, but this is actually one for cake baking, and I'm just going to pop some texture paste down on the page. Whoops, I've put it under the stencil, so that's not going to come out very great, is it? Let's see what a mess I made. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. What I can do is scrape that bit up with my fingernail. Because that's all going to be coloured shortly and it's not going to matter. So there's that. And then the other thing is this elephant has his trunk in the air too. And I know elephants walk around with their trunks in the air, not just for spraying water. And neither of these elephants are by a pond. But I just liked the idea of this, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to give him a water fountain as well. There we go. So I'm going to dry that off and clean off my stencil in case I want to use it another day. Wash it off so that all that texture paste doesn't stick on there. I'm not actually going to wash it underwater. I'm going to use a wipe because if I wash it underwater, the water might get in and ruin that paper underneath. So the world really is your oyster when you make your own stencils. You can use it once and throw it away and you haven't really lost anything. Or, you know, keep it and use it again and again and again, which I do with some of my stencils. And that way, if you hand make them yourself, you've always got exactly what you need, haven't you? Because you can just create it. Good as new. And I can use that for ink or paint or texture paste or whatever you would use a normal stencil for. Okay, dry this off. Okay, so that is touch dry now. It's not completely dry, but it's dry enough for me to add some colour to it, and then I'll leave it overnight to dry properly before I pop it back in my journal. Okay, to add colour, I have some Distress Ink re-inker, and all I'm going to do is drop a wee bit onto the water drops. Okay, drop a wee bit of ink onto that, and then I'm going to use my spritzer Probably should have done one at a time rather than both at a time. Move that around a bit. I think I'll dry that off before I do that one. Okay, that's dry enough that it's not moving around anymore, so I'm going to do the same with the top one. Oh. And I'm going to aim the sprayer in the direction of that I want that the water spray is going. Okay, dry that off. Okay, and because that's quite dark blue, I'm going to bring in some broken china. I don't have a re-inker for this, but I've got my ink pad, so I'm just going to pop that down in a few places. In that area of the water droplets. Give it a little bit more water. Move it around a wee bit. Pop some more on. So you can see it's looking a bit more like watercolor now. You know, the color of water. And I think what I'm going to do now is I have a STAY-ON opaque inker. Now this is not water based and doesn't mix with water, so I want to make sure this is completely dry, and then I'm going to add some of that on top. Okay, that's dry. Just a little bit, not too much, and just smush it around with my finger. I don't want to necessarily cover up all of the white because water has white in it. But just to add a third kind of blue colour into the mix. Okay. I'm pretty happy with it, especially this one. I love all the different blues in this one. So typically the STAY-ON ink takes much longer to dry, even with a heat gun, so I'm going to leave that to dry by itself overnight. And as I said, I'll leave it overnight to dry before I pop it back in the journal so that nothing gets stuck to it. And I'm going to now work on this feather. So I want to do a bit more with this feather. So I did have it like this across the bottom of the page, but now I would like to have it as a dangle coming off the corner of the page like that. And all I'm going to do, I just want to add a wee bit more to it. So I have this, I guess it was a necklace. I picked it up at the op shop in a bag of, just a miscellaneous bag. And I'm going to use one of these feathers here to attach to this feather. So this is just on wire, quite thin wire, so I should be able to just cut it with my scissors and slide that off. And now I will just need a needle and thread, and it can just go on the top like that. Because this is leather, or very thick leather-like material, I'm going to use crochet cotton and a very big sharp needle. I will push it through here first. I actually might just put that through the middle. I'm going to take the needle and pull it through the end of that, through the middle of those two bits of thread that I had knotted together, like so. And then I'm going to pop it on top of the feather here, push the needle through that, and back up the other side, go back through the middle here, and do that one more time to make sure it's nice and secure. Right, then I have, before I take that needle off, I have a feather charm, and I also would like to pop that on there as well. So I'm going to push my needle just through this side and bring it up through the middle of that leather feather, thread it through my charm. No, I'm not, because that needle is too big. Ah, there we go. Just had to hold my tongue right. And then take my needle back down and through the other side. There we go. Push it down through the back of the green feather at the back. Oh, which I've managed, oh no. Okay, scrap that. I've just pushed it through the bottom of that feather. So if you do that, what you can do is, so see I've pushed it through the bottom of this feather instead of just the top, and if you can just cut your thread to get it out. If you don't want to do that, what you can try doing is holding your thread tight and your needle straight and seeing if you can pull the needle back through the hole you made, like that. And then you don't have to cut your thread. Okay, now I'll pull it tight, like so. Make sure I'm happy with that. Yep, and I'll tie it off on the back. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that as an embellishment, a dangle off the edge of the page. Bring my page back in. I have the brad that I had attached it with. I'm going to make a new hole because the original hole I made was too close to the edge and has now split. So I'll just grab my awl, make a new hole further down, well away from the edge. Push my brad through that. And then through the hole in the paper. Open it out. Sorry, I banged the camera. There we go. that is our completed journal page. So now I can pop this back in. Oh yeah, I texture paste over the pocket, so I often do things like this. And all I need to do is pop my craft knife under there and reopen the pocket. There we go. Slide that in, and that is our completed page. So like I said, I'm going to leave that overnight to dry, so I'll take this out so that nothing sticks. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I will see you in the next one.